Hi, everyone. I just wanted to do a quick introduction. My name is Cheryl Albright, and today we're going to be talking about Sibshop. Unfortunately, this is all virtual, so we couldn't post an actual one, like one that would have been happened at Family Cafe as if it were live. But just kind of we're going to go over the importance of it and have a quick papers at the end, some asks for parents out there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera. I just wanted you to see my face and know who's talking. And we'll get on with the presentation. So today we're going to be talking about Sibshop and a little bit about my background. The picture on the left is me and my brother. I have an older brother with autism and intellectual disability. And on the right is actually my aunt with Down syndrome with my brother when he was really young, prior to his diagnosis, and she has Down syndrome. So we grew up in a really, really small rural farm town in Western New York, directly across the lake from Toronto. And we were kind of the only people that had individuals with any kind of disabilities around. And it was interesting. So the first special needs sibling I ever met technically was my father, but never really talked about it. Fast forward several years, I became an occupational therapist and several other certifications. I'm currently in Bradenton, Florida, and own my own practice called Soul to Soul Yoga and all ages therapy services. So last year, about the past 14 months now, I became my brother's legal guardian and had to become power of attorney for my father, who is also not doing very well. Somehow I was introduced to the Sibling Leadership Network and ended up at the conference in St. Paul last year. It was one Facebook sponsored post that I managed to see, and I ended up at their conference. And it was really cool because there was a room full of 120 other siblings that were adults that also had siblings with special needs, and no story was too crazy. They introduced me to SibNet on Facebook. So if you have an adult child that's a sibling of, please direct them to SibNet on Facebook. If they're a teenager, there is Sib Teens. It's moderated by a clinical social worker and a couple other adults, so it is safe. And then they've got it broken down to Sib 20s and maybe even Sib 30s, but I don't fit in any of those categories. So then I ended up taking the Sibshop training last year, and it was awesome. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about that. So what are they? So I have attached some videos. These might not be the same videos that I can't remember what I put on the PowerPoint because I always change my mind. But I'm going to go ahead and escape out of here so that I can share my screen for this. We're working through some technical issues, so hopefully this plays and you can see it.
We need to talk about why brothers and sisters of children with special needs are too important to ignore. I'm your host, Shante, and today I'm speaking with Don Meyer. Don Meyer is the director of Sibling Support Project. He is probably best known for creating Sibshops, lively programs just for young brothers. Programs just for young brothers and sisters of kids with special needs.
When I talk to people, or really anybody who listens to me, about why brothers and sisters are too important to ignore, I like to leave them with a couple of points. The first point being is that just about anything you can say about being the parent of a child with special needs, whether that's special health needs, developmental needs, mental health needs, but anything you can say about being the parent of a child with special needs, you can pretty much put different groups underneath for brothers and sisters. Because if you look at the clinical and research literature that's out there about SIDS, you see that time and time again. SIDS experiences parallel parents' experiences. Secondly, these brothers and sisters will have the longest lasting relationship with that family member who has a disability. They will be the lives of that person, certainly longer than any service provider will, but probably longer than the parents will. It's a relationship easily in excess of 65, 70, 75 years. That's a long. And because of that, they're serving up some considerations. And sibling issues are lifespan issues. Preschoolers who are SIBs will have some unique concerns. Senior citizens who are SIBs will have some unique concerns. And those concerns are going to change and evolve throughout the individual's, the parent's lifespan. But when you start taking a look at the services and considerations that SIBs get compared to the services and considerations that parents get, it's easy to see who's getting the short end of the stick. Here's one little example. My project, the Sibling Support Project, we have a number of sibling-related initiatives. Besides Sibshops, we have social media for teens called SibTeen. It's a closed Facebook page. We have one for SIBs in their 20s called, oddly enough, SIB20. And then we have one for adult SIBs called SibNet.
This week, I hope you'll download and read what siblings would like parents and service providers to know, or how to let young siblings know you care, or both of them. I will also attach the links to Sibshop's website, as well as all of the books we discussed in the show notes. I enjoyed speaking with Don. He really opened my eyes to siblings and some of the issues and concerns that they have to deal with. And the fact that they are extremely important, definitely too important to ignore.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this. Start back. Where we left off. So those are there's I attached some other videos on here as well, but if you go to YouTube and just put in Sibshop, you will find a plethora of news coverage from different parts all over the country. Don Meyer, who created the Sibling Support Project in Washington State, he is kind of, they call the father of starting these groups. It was part of a research project he was doing, I believe, to get his master's in special education, but you can look him up. He's on podcast interviews, YouTube, and he's kind of all over the media. So what is a Sibshop? A Sibshop is a great way for other children to meet other children that have brothers and sisters with any kind of disability or special need. It's a great place to talk about the good and not so good, play games, learn about the services that their sibling may receive, and most importantly, have fun with other kids that get it. So is Sibshop a form of therapy? No, but it is therapeutic. Sometimes it is run by clinical social workers, so there's definitely a little bit more of a therapeutic aspect to it. I'm an occupational therapist, so obviously mine's going to have some kind of OT related psychosocial frames of reference thrown in there. And I've included the first sibling I ever met. This is Renata Sumar Gardner, and she and her mother run yoga for this special child. She had a sister with Down syndrome who has now since passed away, but they continue to run the business together. And she was kind of the first one I met as an adult. And so it was kind of an immediate bond. Anytime I had a question, concern, I could easily ask or shoot a message. So the point of this is, please do not wait until your sibling is 29 to meet another sibling with special needs. With social media out there, please use SibTeen, please use SibNet. So who attends and facilitates Sibshops? Typically, people that are already providing respite or other organizations that serve individuals with special needs. I heard that CARD, the University of South Florida, was doing them for a while, and now they're not anymore. If anybody has a contact over there, that would be great. But sometimes they're run in churches, like where I went and took the Sibshop training in Texas. It was ran out of a church as part of kind of a mission. So they look for adults. Adult Sibs are great as facilitators to help run these Sib shops, but this is my caveat to parents. We love you. However, we don't necessarily want you as a facilitator, and I don't want you to take that the wrong way. It's just that kids tend to not open up as much when mom or dad is in the room, and it's really helpful when they do. So we just ask that maybe you aren't a facilitator, but maybe you have an aunt or a cousin or another family member if you're really concerned. What we tell the Sibs is, you know, what happens in a Sib shop stays in a Sib shop, for the caveat is if, you know, they're saying that they're going to cause harm to themselves or others, obviously we have to report them. So more information, if you downloaded these PowerPoint presentations, you should have access to these slides. But if you go to the Sib shops or Sibling Support Network, if you just Google it, they'll tell you where all the Sib shops are being located, and you can always call them too. The number is up there, and they will tell you who's been trained, where these programs are being run. This time of year, sometimes there's like week-long summer camp, which is kind of a goal for me in the future, to be able to do something like that simultaneously when there's Sibs in at a camp. I would like to be able to do the siblings as well. But they have a list of where you can find them. I believe, I haven't checked it recently, there's a couple in Florida. Most of them are kind of in the Orlando or South Florida area. So for a Sib shop near you, my company covers Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, and Sarasota counties. And we are really looking for a place to co-host these events. Once COVID is, you know, as the world kind of opens back up, whatever that's going to look like, my ask is that if you know of an organization that's willing to partner, maybe it's your child's ABA clinic, maybe it's another therapy provider, maybe it's where your child receives respite. I'm looking for an organization to help co-sponsor these events. People always ask, is there a cost? Yes, there's a cost. There's always a cost, because there's a cost for supplies, there's a cost for time, there's a cost for location if there's rent involved. So yes, however, what we plan to do is, if you can afford to send your sibling to one of these groups and you can afford the cost of maybe another sibling, we're going to have some kind of scholarship that we can scholarship some people in. What I've noticed is I have a number of the siblings on my caseload where the Sibs have they're receiving services elsewhere, like Easter Seals or some of these bigger organizations. And the siblings are being referred for any number of things: sensory processing disorders, they're really anxious, they're not sure who to turn to. And so what I've noticed is that the Sibs tend to carry a burden of anxiety on themselves. As they get older, they start worrying about what is going to happen to their siblings, who's going to take care of them, what happens if mom's not around. When, you know, that frontal lobe starts to come online, they start thinking about this a lot. So this is a great place. Sib shops are going to be a great place for them to have those conversations. Unfortunately, I'm not in person. Usually I ask if anybody has any questions, but I'm going to revert back to this slide. And if you have any questions for me, please reach out. That's my personal email with phone. You can text anytime. And so if I can't get back to you, my assistant will. So that is kind of it for Sib shops. Please reach out with any questions. And if you know any partnering organizations that are willing to help, I would greatly appreciate the referral. Everybody stay safe. If you can stay home, stay home. And I hope to see everyone again in person next year, where we'll actually try to run an official Sibshop during the program, maybe more than an hour though. I'll get with Sarah about that. Where we can actually have those discussions, and maybe even a separate one for teens, because I think teens really start having those conversations about, well, do I go away to college? Do I stay here? Do I have to help my mom? What's going to happen? So to be able to facilitate those conversations. One thing I didn't put on here, and I probably should have, was this Florida Sibling Alliance. This is for adult sibs that are here in Florida. You can go ahead and find them on Facebook. I know that they do different events. There's a panel during Family Cafe and discussion about what they do and who they are. They're a great resource for the state of Florida, and they host different events. They hosted a whole COVID series one evening, and I know coming up that they're doing an adult kind of meetup. And so if you know anybody that would like to join that, I'm sure it's on their Facebook page right now. I just got an email the other day. So like I said, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. And I hope everybody stays safe.